Hey friends, welcome back to the Life-Stylist podcast. My name is Corey and I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome back if you've been here before. And if you're new, I just want to thank you for being here and checking out this podcast. If you love it, please let me know. Share it with anyone that you think might get something from it because that's my sole purpose is to really just kind of work together, not just with myself, with other practitioners to really help us see why we're here and that life doesn't have to be so difficult, that sometimes we get in our own ways. And we're going to talk about that a lot today in this episode. But my true intention with this is not only to bring you awareness about maybe where you're off track or out of alignment with your truth, but also to bring to you other practitioners and healers that can help you on your journey because we're all here collectively to help one another. And many of us have that in our charts. And we're going to talk a lot about not just human design charts today, but also life charts. And so I'm excited to get into this because if you've listened before, you know that I don't usually know what I'm going to talk about until the day of. And this morning I was reading a book, and I'll tell you a little bit of background on the book in just a few minutes. But I, over the weekend, was just kind of pondering what do I want to talk about, and what do I see people struggling with the most. And if you're new, my background is my has always been around physical health, and because I had my own physical health issues. And as I went through my journey, I to heal and to get my health back, I went through a lot of emotional stuff and a lot of changes in my life and just a lot of growth. And so for me, I used to always say to people that that was 50% of my healing is just doing all the emotional stuff and the mindfulness and all of those other, the gratitude, all the other things outside of the supplements and the exercise and the eating better. And as I started coaching other people, I started to realize that this is the same across the board, that we all are here to have a specific journey that's specific to us. And I believe that we chose that journey. And so, what my goal is to help you get back into remembrance and back into alignment with who you truly are so that you can go out and live your life and your purpose and discover what you actually wanted to discover as a spirit being coming into a human body. And so, we live in a world right now where there's a lot of chaos, and I believe that chaos has always been there. It just because we can see it, it's at such an extreme level, and our nervous systems are not accustomed. We're never designed to be exposed to the stuff that we're being exposed to. And so I love to bring you new practitioners that can help you calm the nervous system down. And we're going to talk more about that in the upcoming weeks. Um, and just people that can really help and heal you. And then I love to tie in with my physical healing human design because not only for me, but for many of my clients, it's been really life changing to realize that our body's trying to tell us something's not correct, and it will do it through physical symptoms. And so oftentimes, if we correct the misalignment issue from our soul level, the physical symptoms will clear up. So today I want to talk a little bit about of course, I'll always tie human design in, and we'll do that in a little while. But I want to talk about this book that I was reading this morning, and I pulled a card today, which was really interesting because it's the same card that I pulled for myself, one of them this morning, but it was also really in alignment with what we're talking about today. And so that makes me feel happy because I feel like I'm connected to our higher power, to God, whatever you want to call that, in the message that I'm here to bring for all of us today. So the book I'm reading right now it's an older book. It's by Sylvia Brown, who's a world-renowned medium. And this book, the interesting story about this book, and hopefully I'm not repeating myself because I don't always remember the stories I tell, but this book, I was in a used bookstore, and I love going into used bookstores to look for books. A, I like to support small businesses. And B, it's the magical things that happen when I go into a used bookstore with intention every single time are so I get the greatest books in that way. And so I was getting ready to leave to go to California a few weeks ago, and I wanted just a fictional feel-good book, just a book I could read on the beach. And I had some suggestions from a friend, so I was looking for those books, but I found the one I wanted, but I always go to the mystical section because I like to just see if there's anything that jumps out at me. And this book literally jumped out at me. So I'm looking across the bookshelf. And if you're listening to this, if you go into Substack and you look at the live video, you'll be able to see the book. But it's by Sylvia Browne. It's called Blessings from the Other Side. And I've had another one of her books jump out at me before in the used bookstore, but I wasn't looking for anything like this. And I was about 5 books over, and I went to pull the binder of a book out, and this book literally flew out of like, I can't even explain. I don't know that I've experienced a book that intensely trying to come at me before, but it literally flew out of it was up, the book level was up about to my eye level, and that book just flew out and landed on the floor to the left of me, or to the right of me. So I picked it up and I'm like, well, I guess I'm taking you home. I mean, I didn't even question it because that's just how it works for me. And so I was excited to get into it because it flew out at me like that. And so I've been reading a little bit on some mornings when I do my little morning ritual. I don't read it every morning, but I try to read it a few times a week. And so today I was reading, and it was in the section about guilt. So she talks about guilt and how we shouldn't have guilt unless we've truly done something wrong. But the majority of the guilt that we feel, especially as women on a daily basis, we don't need to feel it. It's not necessary. It's just conditioned. It's shame. It doesn't do anything good for us to feel guilt. And so I'm reading this today, and I'm going to just read this right out of the book. And she's talking about um the guilt section went on to talk about revenge and how revenge doesn't serve anyone. It actually hurts us more, and that person is just getting more of our energy than they deserve when we try to create revenge. But this part that she said, she talks about when we are basically when it comes to revenge, but the way I took this is across the board. Whenever we are overly involved in whether it's revenge, codependency, any way of trying to control outcomes, we are outside of our chart because each of us has a life path, a life chart that we chose. So, and I love the Sylvia Browne books because she backs this up all the time. She talks a lot about how we created a chart of how our life was going to be. And I believe our human design chart is a part of that chart that's kind of like an operating manual that shows us how to understand our own energy so that we can stay in our chart and not get involved in other people's charts. And so she's talking about this chart, and she says, when you are getting overly worried, overly in someone else's business, or you're allowing them to affect you in a negative way, you are now drawing yourself into their chart, and their chart is only for them to live. And so I thought that was so great because she says this draws you into a person's chart and therefore off track from your own. So if you think about last week, we talked about control, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about control, like how if we get into trying to control outcomes, trying to control too much, it actually keeps us off path. And so our ultimate goal is to stay on that magnetic monopole. And we're going to weave off and on that. I've talked about that a lot, how we have this magnetic monopole, which draws us to our purpose or our fate or however you want to look at that, and our destiny. But we always are going off of it. And the easiest way to live life is to really try to stay on that. And so if we can stay out of other people's charts and let them do them, let them worry about them. Of course, we can love people from afar. We can send lots of good wishes, but we are not here to be in their chart. We are here to affect it, maybe. We might have soul contracts with them that are going to help them get to a certain place, but we're not here to be overly involved in what they're doing, if that makes sense. So she says, when we composed our chart, we wrote in our own mistakes and our own lessons to learn towards the specific purposes we intended to accomplish while we were here. When someone wrongs us, it's their mistake and their lesson to learn. And the inevitability of karma and their chart guarantees that sooner or later they will learn. So she's talking again about revenge. She says, if we seek revenge, we're essentially taking time out from our own chart to concern ourselves with theirs, which is not unlike neglecting our own homework assignment and failing a course because we were so busy doing the enemy's homework instead. So we're all on this earth for an ultimate purpose of leaving it better than we found it and to forward the progress of our spirits. So there's no progress found in all of the things that we do when we get sidetracked with what other people are doing, or even if they're doing it to us. So, in my experience, in that kind of a situation, when we just draw the line with our boundary, they're actually magically just kind of exit out of our life. Once we stand up and we draw that boundary, if we continue to engage and involve ourselves in their chart, like she's talking about, they stay in our energy field. But if we just draw a line with a boundary and we're like, I'm not doing this anymore, they actually will tend to. I've had this happen with several people where eventually they've just disappeared and I've never seen them again. And so I don't have to deal with that energy anymore. And then I can move forward. So she talks about how precious ground is to be lost along our spirit's eternal path, and more distance instead of less between us and our ultimate spiritual potential that we will have to make up later. So the way I like to think of it is that we came here, we created a life chart. Some of you guys have heard, I think in one of the podcasts I talked about how I just picture that we're in this other realm, wherever that spirit realm is, and we were like, ooh, I want to try that, and I want to try that, and I want to try that. Because we just, as a spirit, wanted to come experience all these things in a human body. And then we get here and we get the experience, which is a lesson, and we either draw that experience out, if it's a negative experience, out longer, or we can make it short based on how well we know our own human design chart. So when you're feeling like you're stuck or you're frustrated, because this episode is not about revenge. I just wanted to pull that out of that because that what she said in the book about revenge actually goes hand in hand with life in general, right? Anything in life. If we are not on our own path and we are getting on other people's paths or we are allowing them into ours, it throws us off and then we are losing precious time. So, next, I want to bring up the card that I pulled today because it's an interesting card. It's from the deck, the Inner Temple Oracle. If you're listening, it's a beautiful, beautiful, it's in a black box. I think last week or a few weeks ago, I told you the story of how I acquired this. But Rebecca Campbell is the author of these, and it's called the Inner Temple Oracle. And it's a very different deck than I've ever used before because it has different suits of cards. So the one that I pulled today, it comes from the polarities suit. And so the pictures are so pretty, but the polarity suit, when you pull a card, it has like a tarot card deck where there's an upside down or right side up how you pull it. So when I pulled this, it doesn't matter for today's purpose which side is up or down, but it pulled this way where the fated life is on the bottom, fated like Fated, fated, and the destiny life was upside down. And so what we're going to talk about today is has everything to do with that. And so I love it because when I get on I get on Facebook, I try not to scroll a lot, but there's a couple groups that inevitably just pop up and I see a post immediately from that group. And it sucks me in every time because it's usually somebody that's in a lot of pain. And what I'm seeing a lot right now are people who literally are crying out for help saying, I can't do this anymore. Typically it's in a mom, the one I see the most is in a mom group, and it's moms that are like, I'm working, I'm trying to do all the things for my kids. There's a ton of guilt that comes up, there's a ton of worrying about if they're doing it right. The first thing I want to say to you as a mom, your kids were sent to you for a reason. If we go back to the life chart and soul agreements, I believe we made agreements with the people who are closest to us in our lives, and even some people that just dip into our lives for a minute. Sometimes they're soul contracts. And so if you have children or anybody in your life that you're worried about, just remember that they're in your life because they're supposed to be. So as a mother, I remember many years just feeling like a complete failure. And I didn't raise kids in the world that we're in today. It's such a difficult world to be a parent. I do not envy that. I'm so glad that I'm not doing that. But I do have a granddaughter and I worry about her. But I'm thankful that she has very aware and good parents that really are protective of her and take really good care of her. And I think ultimately, as parents, most of us, that's what we're trying to do is our best. And our higher power knows that, and our higher power will guide us if we can quiet ourselves down stop being busy with things that don't matter so that we can hear and have direction. But not only direction, have validation that we're doing it right. What people say outside of you, if you're doing the best that you can, that's all you can do. And what the people, if you're thinking people on the outside are judging you, again, you're getting into their life, their chart, right? So you stay in your lane and you trust that what your spirit knows is correct for your kids, but you have to really engage with that spirit. You have to stop and listen, and you've got to get out of your head and into the feeling of your body, into that heart coherence. So anyways, back to the what I was trying not to get off track with. I see these posts, and this one particular mom was like, I'm a horrible mom. And she was stating all the things that she'd heard her son say something that made her feel really terrible. And several of the moms got on and commented and said, a horrible mom wouldn't care. A horrible mom wouldn't be worried that she wasn't doing a good job. And really we're just saying, you're a great mom. And our kids are here to have their journeys. And I always want to remind people that your kids are going to have a hard time. They're going to struggle. The kids these days that are here, the young kids they were born into this time because their souls were prepared for this. They're here for that. And they're actually much more capable than you think they are. But as a parent, you have to give them the correct tools. That's why I'll always tell people, if you've got kids and you're struggling, I get their human design charts and understand how their energy works and then support that energy. A lot of kids don't fit into the normal dogma of society, the normal get up, rush off to school, come home, do all the activities, do the homework. There are a lot of kids that need downtime. And so your kid isn't lazy because they don't want to do all the social things. And not every kid's supposed to have a ton of friends. So if you're a super social parent and your kids are not, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that you have to remember think about how often you're getting into your own conditioning and projecting that onto your kids. So I, as a mom, know what it's like to want your kids to be loved and accepted and all of those things. 100% we all want that. But also when you can get quiet and just really connect with your spirit, with higher power, and get that internal knowledge, it may be that your kid has the journey to not have a lot of friends or to go through something hard so that it can have them grow into something specific as an adult. So stop questioning how good you are as a parent and you just love on those kids. As long as they know you love them, you're there for them, you support them, you're doing the best for them. They're not always going to like you. But my point in all of this is it's not just moms with kids, it's everyone right now is like, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm struggling with this. I don't like my life. How do I deal with all of this? I can't handle the economy right now. Like when I go to the grocery store, it's like a small fortune, and it just really makes me worry about like single moms or people who are just really struggling. But I want you to know that you're always taken care of. You are always being watched out for. And make that your mantra and your place of gratitude to be like, thank you for always taking care of me. I'm so thankful that everything works out in my favor. I'm so thankful that I'm learning from these hardships. And when you can take all of that perspective of everything I talked about with the soul contracts and your life chart, it really, for me, helps me just go, oh, okay. Yeah, sometimes this life is really shitty and it sucks and it's hard, but I chose this. And so I'm going to, instead of resisting it, I'm going to figure out what it is it's going to teach me. And then how do I get through it? So I'm going to read you this card. It's the Destiny Life and Fated Life card. So Destiny Life is the soul path. So, okay, before I read this, I want you to really get in a space, if you have to pause for a minute and just get really quiet or come back to this. I want you to really think about how this resonates with you because you might feel both sides of the card. Your conditioning is going to put you in the fated. This is what I have to do to have a good life. Your soul, your inner self, is going to put you in the destiny. And so your job is to figure out, how do I have both? How do I live in today's world without forgetting who I am, trusting what I know, but how do I not get too far off? I don't think you can get too far off in the destiny life because I think your soul knows it. I think society will tell you that you're too far gone. Like sometimes I'll say things that I'm like, this is how I want my life to be. And it sounds totally ridiculous, but I'm like, but why can't it be? Because anything's possible, right? Okay. So see where this resonates with you. I would love in the comments of either the podcast or the, especially on Substack, because that's where I get the most like notifications and I'll see it. Tell me what you think, like where it resonates with you. Are you leaning more towards the destiny side or the soul side? And how can you merge those? So let's get into it. The destiny life is the soul path, the dream of your soul, trusting the call within, life purpose. Courage will be rewarded, listening to yourself, daring and passionate, what is true for you. Fated life is the safe option, doing the quote, right thing, doing the expected thing, external influences, listening to the opinions of others, what other people want. So which part of the card is right side up, it asks, and which meaning is calling to you the most? So today when I pulled this card for myself, I was sitting on my back patio and I just said, okay, well, what do I need to know? And I always have all these questions going on in my mind, just, show me that I'm on the right path. What do I need to know for today? You know, just sometimes I don't have a specific question, but I believe that my higher power always knows what's on my heart. And so my question was just like, tell me what I need to know. And mine came up as the faded site showing up. Okay. Or it came upside down. And so what that meant for me was that I'm still questioning what I know to be true for myself, that I need to continue to push through and believe that what I've been shown is correct for me is correct for me, and not let the fated side interrupt the destiny side, not let the external influence that, not let what's supposed to be or the right way to do things be how I follow, because I'm always happier when I trust my gut, and all of you will be too. So, which meaning calls to you the most? Since we didn't pull the card specifically for the upside down or right side up, which one do you resonate? Are you mostly living in a destiny life or are you mostly living in your fated life? I would dare to, if you're just starting your journey, you're probably living a lot in fated life where you let external influences influence your choices every single day. And if you're unhappy, there's a good chance that that's what you're doing. So I'm going to read to you how to bring them into balance, or maybe that's a question. So if you could journal, um, I'll post in the comments the journal prompt, which is which meaning is calling to you the most, the fated or the destiny, and how can you bring both parts or meanings into balance? Because there can be a balance between both, right? Because sometimes you live in society. Sometimes you have to participate in some of the things that you don't want to. Excuse me. The fated life is the expected life, the one that's the most likely, the one that you'll live if external circumstances direct you. It's the one you'll live if you believe what society, the people, the systems say you are, and if you do what they say you should do. The fated life isn't the safe life, but in living it, you may find that there is music still in you that longs to be expressed, or a feeling of, is this all there is? The destiny life is the life that the soul dreams of. It requires listening to and trusting the wild and daring call within. It takes great courage to live the destiny life, for it requires you to trust yourself above all else. It requires you to truly live. With courage comes reward and fulfillment. The destiny life is the one you live when you choose to live consciously, to trust and follow the voice rather than heed the noise and the influences outside of you. You have a decision to make. Do you choose the fated life or the destiny life? Do you choose the safe option or the courageous one that makes you come alive? So the question is while I was reading that, and if you need to go back and listen to that part again, go back and listen, because what I want you to do is I want you to think about how you felt when I read that. When I read trusting the wild and daring call within, what is within you right now that you're not trusting? What keeps coming up and you're like, oh, I just want to do that. But my parents or my partner or whoever will think I can that's crazy. Okay. If it keeps coming up for you, it's probably meant for you. Um, remember, with courage is where the reward and fulfillment comes. And so when we stay in the groundhog day and we don't step outside of the box and we don't push the edges, some of us have in our literal charts to push the edges more. And so when we're not pushing edges, we are not happy. We are bored, we are stir crazy, we are angry. And so knowing your chart will really help you go, oh, why am I feeling like this? Oh, I'm out of alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing. So, courage brings reward and fulfillment. It requires you to truly live. So, um, so this weekend, I had a crazy busy week and a crazy busy weekend. And to me, what's crazy busy to me might seem minor to a lot of people. But when I got sick, so in 2000, when was it? 2018, I started to get sick. 2019 is when I really started working on my healing journey. And I got in this place where I was very careful with how I spent my energy because I was so afraid to get sick again. And so I just dialed everything down. And I noticed last year that that was actually detrimental. That I had got stuck in this space where I wasn't doing things. I was saying no to opportunities because I was worried that my body would get so stressed out again that I would get sick again. So that's just like a form of PTSD, right? And so as I worked through that, I've realized that when I follow my strategy and authority in my human design, that my body tells me if I should engage in it or not. And so last weekend, we were so busy. And so my man and I, when everybody left the house yesterday, we had a family get together and it was so great. I just love when my family gets together. But I've gone through periods where I'm like, I can't do it right now, right? So those ebbs and flows, there's nothing wrong with you if you need a break from stuff, but don't get stuck in the break. Don't get stuck in the fear of what if, right? Because that takes us out of the present moment and all the magic happens in the present moment. And so what I realized is that um I wasn't doing a lot of things anymore, or I was limiting myself, or I'd have these strict time schedules. And that was starting to drive me nuts. And then I got to where I just had no schedule at all. So I just wasn't getting anything done because there was no structure because I was like, well, I'm just gonna take it easy, right? Well, that became a problem. And so it made me super non-committal. And there's nothing wrong with being non-committal if something's not for you, but it made me really non-committal. And so back to the strategy and authority, I started to learn, oh, my body knows what's correct for me. So if it's 100% yes, my body will tell me, and I just need to follow that. And then I won't get sick. So last night everybody left and we sat down and we were just dead. We just had a fun weekend, but we just ran ourselves ragged. We did work, but we also did a lot of play. And so when we got done, I was just like, oh my gosh, that was exhausting. We didn't have a break the whole entire weekend. But even though I was exhausted and as a manifesting generator, if you're a generator or manifesting generator, those are the best times for you. You're here to do everything that makes you happy and lights you up and just burn that energy all day long and then just fall into bed oh, it was the greatest day ever and I'm exhausted out. And that's when you start sleeping really good. So, I've been doing that over the last couple months, and my sleep patterns have gotten better and better and better. But what was really cool about yesterday is, yes, we were exhausted, but we had a great time. We had a great weekend. And so I want you, if that hits you, to just really think about how you're using your energy. And if you don't know your type, there's 5 types in human design. If you don't know your type and you're going against that energy, it will really mess with your body and your mind. So back to the card. So, what resonated the most with you? And what is it that you can do? Because a lot of people feel, I'll get clients that come in and they're like, well, I'm stuck. I work full time. I have no extra time. You always have a choice. You will always have a choice. So when you come to me, we all have excuses, right? It's the way that we protect ourselves is to make an excuse. It's the way we stay in a victim mentality is that no, I can't help myself. Someone else has to bail me out of this, or I'm stuck in this position. Really, every single thing, every part of that comes from fear. It comes from fear of change, fear of not knowing the outcome. And so we stay in spaces and we make the excuse of, well, I can't spend time doing the things I love because I have too much responsibility. Do you? Because who's creating that? Is somebody making you have too much responsibility? Or I get a lot of clients that are like, oh, I don't have time to do that because I work full time. And by the time I get home from work, I'm exhausted. 9 times out of 10, that's because they're using their energy wrong. If they start to use their energy correctly, then they can actually stay in the job that they think they hate, but create a better life around it and start to enjoy that job because they're using that energy correctly. So if you work at a job and you're not taking your allotted breaks, take your breaks. Go do something that takes you out of the atmosphere of work. Don't pick up your phone. Go walk around your building, walk around the block, sit out somewhere on the grass. Whatever you can do, do that. Because you've just got to change that. You've got to change the environment of where you are and get your body in a space where your nervous system can relax. And if you stay in your office, with I'll give you an example. I've worked in offices where everybody just complained all the time. You'd go to lunch, everyone complained all the time. Everybody was unhappy. All they did. Well, that's negative energy. So if you're at work stressing out because you've got to get deadlines and you've got all the things you have to do at work, and then your lunch break, you go spend in negative energy where there's nothing that makes you go, oh, yeah, there's possibility in life, that just creates hopelessness, right? So get yourself out of the environment. Even if you find a coworker to go on a walk with and you make a rule that is like, we are not talking about anything negative. Let's talk about possibility. Let's talk about our dreams. Let's talk about what we would love. Because as you start to verbalize that, your throat center is your center of manifestation. So as you verbalize things that you want, it creates the energy to start bringing them to you. But if you just keep it all internalized and you're just focused on what you can't have, you demagnetize yourself from the things that you're actually here to have, if that makes sense. So it seems like there was one other thing I wanted to say, but I can't think of it. So I think we'll just let it go from there. But if you have questions, please reach out. If you have not had a human design reading, come have a basic reading. I promise you, it is worth your weight in gold to just do a basic reading to learn your type and your strategy and authority and a little bit about your purpose, because it will resonate with you to a point that you'll be able to go, okay, all these feelings that I'm feeling inside, they're here, they're there because I'm supposed to act on them. And then it'll help you see, like we talked about in the beginning, how involved you're being in other people's charts. Stop putting yourself in other people's business. Exit yourself, create boundaries, stand up for yourself, walk away, create some peace in your life, because so many of us are in these lives that we really want to take a vacation from and run away from. And we're creating it. We're creating the chaos by trying to enable people, be codependent. One of the big things I've talked about this year a lot is that my big goal this year was to not carry other people's emotions. I had a few experiences, a couple of big experiences last year, but also just I started to realize how when I'm in group situations, whether it's work or family or even one-on-one with clients, how I carry a responsibility of how their emotions are going, or do they feel comfortable, or are they like just trying to carry all of that. And I really had a wake up call to that last year, and I didn't know really how to stop doing it. And so this year I just have really become aware, where am I overextending myself and I'm losing energy because I'm trying to make sure everybody's happy, or I'm trying to control the outcome of something rather than just let it go and let the magic of it happen. And so I've noticed since I became aware of it, it's become it's crazy how much I do it. And it may not be showing outwardly, but internally, and that's what creates fatigue in my body. So if you're ready to have a human design reading, I don't care if you just go pull up your chart and figure it out yourself, go do it. You can get your chart free on lots of places. There's lots of free information. I will start posting in the membership just little excerpts of different things like types and strategies and authorities. I'm going to start working on that today, so that once you pull your chart, you will be able to learn about it on your own. But if you want to truly get into it deeply, it took me years to learn this. So you want to go to somebody who's studied it for quite some time and taken courses on it and really knows what they're talking about. And I believe that every person kind of tweaks it a little bit to their own, but the basics stay the same. And so if that resonates with you, go first, pull your chart, find out what your type is and your strategy and authority and work on those. And if you're ready to have your chart done, I'll put a link in the notes where you can set up an appointment to do a Zoom and we'll go over your basics of your chart. And then most of my clients want to go deeper into that, into purpose. And oftentimes we can connect your physical issues with where you're off in your chart. So it's really valuable, especially if you're having a lot of physical symptoms. Um, if you want to go deeper into the mind, body, spirit, and you've got a lot of physical or some chronic illness going on, an alignment session is the best way to do that because we look at a little bit of your health history, but we look at your entire lifestyle and what's going on versus just looking at your chart. And then we intertwine your chart into where you're out of alignment in your lifestyle, if that makes sense. So, thank you so much for being here. I hope that something today hit you and is going to motivate you to take care of yourself, to make some changes, and to do what your heart wants to do instead of kind of what everybody else wants to do. Okay, love y'all. Have a great, great day, and I will see you next time. I'll have a special guest next week, and we'll just keep going from here and look forward to in probably mid-July, I'm going to start having a couple of my women wellness and woo-woo practitioners come on, and we're going to do some panels and talk about just some cool subjects where you'll get to hear really great downloads because these women are super connected to higher power. And we'll talk about some of the things that they're seeing and kind of collectively what's going on. And those will be, I think, really valuable as well. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. Please go like, comment, share anything because if this resonated with you, there's a good chance there's other people that it might help. And that is really what my ultimate goal is. So thanks so much. And I will see y'all next time. Bye bye.